Welcome to another session with me, your favorite storyteller and literary teacher. On today, we'll be looking at figures of speech, and this is your guide to speaking like a literary genius. Now, let's proceed. What are figures of speech? Figures of speech can be considered like the secret sauce of language. Imagine a scenario you want to cook a dish. All the ingredients that you have to put into that dish to make it delicious, just assume that those are your figures of speech. So think of figures of speech as the means of the literary world. They are the creative twists on ordinary language that make your words pop, stick, and eat different. Without them, everything would sound like a boring textbook. With them, you get a chef's kiss. So look at your figures of speech as what you would use to spice up your meal, the ingredients that combine together, and that's your secret ingredient that will help you make your dish very delicious. So with your figures of speech, you are able to make your what? Your dish delicious. That is what you can imagine your figures of speech to be like. Now, there are three big types of figures of speech. I mean, figures of speech can be classified into three broad themes that will help you understand it easily. The first type is figures of speech that deals with comparison. The other figures of speech category deals with emphasis, and the last figures of speech category goes with sound. Now, these three types of figures of speech, we would look at them one by one. Let's look at figures of speech that has to do with comparison. These are simile and metaphors. When you say your crush is like sunshine or your Monday is a dumpster fire, these are comparison. You are comparing one item to the other, either directly or indirectly. So you can box your figures of speech as into a category that fits into the comparison category. Words that help you compare an item to the other. Now let's look at the other category or type of figures of speech. And this category does with emphasis. I mean emphasis. And these figures of speech that you can find under the emphasis category or type are hyperbole and irony. I've told you a million times, or saying great weather during a storm. Now these are examples of an hyperbole and an irony. An hyperbole because I've told you a million times exaggerates, and while saying great weather during a rainy season or during a storm, it's like you're mocking the situation. So you can see that we have emphasis as a type of figure of speech, and the figures of speech that popularly falls under this category is what? Your hyperbole and the irony. Let's move to the third category or type of figures of speech. We have the sound figures of speech. Here we have the alliteration and onomatopoeia. Examples are Peter Piper picked or comic book sounds boom and whoosh. Now, while alliteration and onomatopoeia has its own peculiar things, which we'll consider later on in this teaching, remember that there are three big types or three main types of figures of speech. Figures of speech that deal with comparison, that does with the ones that handles emphasis, and the one that fits into the category of sound. Once you remember these three items, these three words, it's easy for you to identify figures of speech anywhere you encounter them, whether in a story or in a poem. The moment you understand that you can fit your figures of speech into three major categories, which are comparison, emphasis, and sound, understanding figures of speech becomes easy. Let's now dive into it in proper. Comparison figures of speech. Here we're considering making your words paint vivid pictures. For example, we say simile. An example is this: life is like a box of chocolates. Here it simile uses like or as to compare two different things. simultaneously. I mean directly. So then we have metaphor. Metaphor is time is money. This is a direct comparison. So while simile compares directly, metaphor says one thing and links it up together with another thing for you to see how one thing fits with each other. So we say time is money directly says one thing is another. You do not have to include like or as when you're making a direct comparison while using metaphor. Then we move on to personification. My phone died on me. Giving human qualities to non-human things makes it a personified sentence or statement. Do you get? I hope you do. Let's now consider similes and metaphors in everyday life. Comparing like a pro. Similes use like or as to compare and broke as a joke. Metaphors directly use Metaphor directly states something is something else. My brain is fried, or that test was a piece of cake. You use this every day without even realizing it. What I'm trying to say here is that these are ways you can use simile, and we use them every day without even realizing that we are comparing items to each other. Using similes and metaphor in our daily life. So when you find words like an as in a sentence, it means you're using simile for direct comparison. But when you link a word to something totally different at the same time, that is metaphor. I mean, who compares their brain to something being fried? It's not akara, right? So you see, that is what a direct comparison. We move on to hyperbole, the art of exaggeration. What do you mean by hyperbole? Hyperbole is extreme exaggeration used for emphasis or humor. You use it in everyday life. I've told you a million times. I'm so hungry I could hit a horse. This bag weighs a ton. None of these are literally true, but they make your point unforgettable. While irony is like a life troll when life trolls you. For example, irony is when the opposite of what you expect happens. Picture this: a fire station burning down, rain pouring on your wedding day, or a traffic cop getting a parking ticket. It's life way of saying plot twist. We now consider the third category or the third type of figures of speech you want to focus on as a literary student or as an English student or somebody who is interested in poetry or just interested in speaking like a literary genius. And the sound effect in language. Words can make music. Alliteration repeats starting sounds. For example, Peter Piper picked peppers. Onomatopoeia mimics sound. Buzz, crash, sizzle. And assonance repeats vowel sounds. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. You have to understand that while alliteration repeats starting sounds, assonance focus more on repeating the vowel sounds in a sentence. And onomatopoeia will focus on the sound, the sound. That is what onomatopoeia focus on. Let's now look at some of the pro tips you need to slay your figures of speech. Whether you're a newbie or you're a proficient person, you have to start small. Use them in everyday conversations like I'm dying of hunger or this class is killing me. Spot them in your favorite songs, memes, and even your K dramas. Practice makes perfect. The more you use them, the more natural they become. I hope with these three categories and the way we've explained figures of speech, it becomes easier for you to understand how you can identify figures of speech in a sentence or anywhere you find them, probably in a poem or while speaking with your friend in a classroom, in a formal setting, wherever you find yourself, I believe that with the way we've broken it down, it becomes easier on you to understand figures of speech. Remember, the figures of speech focus more on three categories. Once you get these three categories, everything becomes easy. What are the three categories? The big threes are comparison, emphasis, and sound. This is the major figures of speech you might need to focus on as a beginner or as a literary person. So your comparison includes your simile and metaphors, your emphasis include the hyperbole and the irony, and your sound include your alliteration, your onomatopoeia, and your assonance. These three categories will go a long way in helping you understand what it is to speak like a literary genius and identify figures of speech wherever, whenever, and however you find them in your essays. Until next time, thanks for learning with us. Now go forth and speak figuratively. Don't forget to like and share and follow us for more teaching like this. Thank you all. Bye.